to share. Today is going to be a little bit special. We're going to have, I'm going to open. That's not why it's special. The real reason why it's special is because Master Tzu is going to, has already prepared, and she will finish today's sharing within the last few moments, about 10 minutes or so. So that's why it's a combination, and we hope that we get to hear more from our Dharma masters from the abode to share, and also to guide us and lead us as Master has always been. And I think it's very important, especially in this time in this very trying times where things are getting, we're getting tested a lot in our lives, and our resolves are tested, especially for all of you, whether in Malaysia or in other places. I think with the recent pandemic, it definitely strikes very close to home. So I'm going to open, and later on, we're going to have Master Tzu who's going to share with us. So let us begin. Once again, it's finally we're back. We're back as in we have been always online. We never left, but we're always together. But you all know what I mean. We're back. In that Master is back. But the thing is that some of you will say that we never left, right? So you said, hey, we're back. And some of you will say, what do you mean, Joe? We never left, right? Or maybe you left, but we never did. So some of you will say that, and I will agree with you. I would even think of it that way too. However, even if some of you might say that, saying that we're back and saying that we never left, it would both be right and wrong at the same time. Or in another way to look at it, they will both be right. Okay, they will both be right at different times. Okay, so what does that mean? What does that mean to be both right and wrong at the same time, or both right at different times? What does that really mean? It means that yes, we are back, in that we never really left this path, but it wasn't the same, right? Because while our mind might remain at Vulture's Peak throughout this whole time, we were continuing our path as guided by our Master, right? Our Master has always been by our side. Master has never left us. So in essence, we never left. While the mind remains there. But our heart sort of isn't. Because our heart has always been with Master. When the morning Dharma talk wasn't there, it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. So while the mind might still be at the Vulture's part, while we know, consciously know that our path remains the same, the heart is still there. There's always this lingering thought, the lingering idea that it's not yet done. We're still missing something. Even though we're there, but we're still missing something. And you all know what I'm talking about. You all know how that feels. It's very, very real. It's very, very there. And that's what it is. So you would both be right. And that's what it is. That's how it feels. So welcome back. And this is what I wanted to say to everybody. Welcome back. For those of you that never left, thank you for not leaving. For those of you that are just coming back, thank you for coming back. For those of you that both have left and are coming back, well, we're on the same boat, okay? So what did Master exactly say? I think, and I need to have much kudos to Brother Ching. I think his sharings I've seen are very, very right on the spot. And I encourage more of you, many of you, including myself, if I can. After the morning Dharma talk, I know that sisSuChing, that you hold another session before 7 o'clock, before everybody goes off to do the rest or whatnot. There's another session that's shared by Brother Chin, and I saw and I heard Brother Ching's sharing before. They're really, really to the point. So they're very good, and it's very on a daily basis. I think it's wonderful. So what did Master exactly say? Today I summarized some of the things that I thought was important, just like what Brother Ching did. We all try to summarize this, but just like what I was hoping to answer some of the one of the questions from you guys, I would like to bring out some of the things that I thought was important, that I thought was something that strikes me. Okay, so what did Master exactly say? So first, the thing that Master said was her condition, right? Especially at the end. I want to jump right to the end, where Master said that her voice, her sound, it wasn't pleasing. And I'm sure all of you from all over the places, whether you're at home or whether you're at Jing Hall or whether you're at the office, wherever you are, on your bed, on your couch, kneeling down, lying down, I don't know where you are. But when you heard this, I'm sure you were screaming out like I was, screaming out, telling Master, no, Master, the voice is perfect. You know, the sound is perfect. It's not how coarse or how smooth it is. It's the fact that it was spoken by Master. It's the fact that she had resumed this talk. And I think that's what it is, right? So Master had for some time been very conscious and being very worrisome about her own health conditions. And she had mentioned that for the past almost 6 months, that's what the main concern was. That was she able to do it? Would she have enough stamina, or would she have enough energy to be able to carry out, you know, and with her voice? And that was the one thing that she was on the top of her worry when I remember last month pleading Master to restart again the sutra. And Master mentioned the first thing that she replied when she answered to me was, do you know how much effort I put into speaking? And so that's something that she knows was her main obstacle. And so she was trying to overcome that. And she shared with us yesterday in that's what she did. Okay, that's what she tried to work up the energy. She tried to work up the stamina just to overcome this. Okay, and one of the things that I mentioned was that Master was really at ease when 20 chapters were done, and then we'll get into that. But this is also something that I thought was important in that that it's why is it important? Why is it important? We're going to get into that. So it's about why continue. So Master also delve into, if that's all the obstacles, then why continue, or how to continue? And Master mentioned that this is for all, right? For all sentient beings, all of humanity, most of all for disciples, for generations. And the part she mentioned about the disciples was, if you remember last year, there was a song. And at the end of the song, when people were, you know, there's like it's almost like a marching band song. And people are like, you know, marching toward Master, right? And that was the part, you know, every thought, every second, every life, here and now, you know, that part. So that part was mentioned that echoed in Master's mind all the time, and then she was thinking about that. Okay, so she said that's what she needed to do. Why? Because this is the responsibility. This is the responsibility that she took on when she took the vow, when she became ordained, when Master chose a life of monastic. That was the responsibility, and that's what she wanted to do. So mention also cultivate and activate, right? Within and without. What do you do? And these are something that Master reviewed with us that I thought was very nice. But I wanted to touch upon this part. And this is something that I think many people pick up, and I think it's important, is Master talks about the consequences of the past. She mentioned that there were things that was done in the past that maybe in lives past, right? But you have to accept it. You have to accept these consequences joyfully, willingly, because you already did something in the past and you have to accept it. However, Master mentioned that while you're accepting this, you know, the one thing that it stood out to me was that, yes, the past is an indication of the future, but your actions should not be influenced, right? Whether you accept whatever the consequences of the past, it should not affect what your actions are going to be in the future. Yes, your health condition or our situations are affected by our consequences, by the consequences of the past. But what you want to do now with your life and your future, it's absolutely independent. You should make that actions count because of what you believe in. And I think that's something that that stands out very, very strongly, very strongly. So coming back to this, you know, I just basically went through some of the key points that I thought, very, very simple points that I thought was important from Master's talk yesterday. But I want to bring back to this point, which is why the Master think that chapter 20 was enough. Why was that enough? You know, if it's enough, then why did Buddha spoke for 28, right? Maybe somebody should raise their hand and say, Buddha, I think chapter 20 is enough, so maybe you can begin another sutra, right? So I don't think any of his disciples at the time would do that, right? But why would Master think that chapter 20 is enough? And this goes back into what we talked about last week when we were trying to resolve a question, and it was about why was, you know, Ananda asking the questions? You know, why were those the questions? And we talk about the 3 pillars: knowing who your teacher is, and knowing if somebody don't agree with you or don't agree with the group, and knowing how to, you know, 以戒为师 and 以和为助, you know, what should you abide by, right? So the 3 pillars, the 3 main questions that were asked. And so this gave me this idea that the 4 pillars, why? Because I think in chapter 20, it completely embodies these 4 pillars. It tells you the goals of life, okay? It's very clear. In the first 20 chapters, it already clearly tells you what we need to set our objectives and our goal is. It's very clear to tell you that Buddha was looking for people to pass on this Dharma, and Buddha was looking for people to act on this Dharma, to walk on this path. So the direction and objective is very clear, right? So it already sets the goal. Next, it tells you how to do this. It tells you how to achieve this goal, right? And it tells you when you need to adjust, and it tells you how to adjust. And I really think that these are the 4 things. If you can narrow it down to 3 or 4 or maybe 5, right? There are some of the very key essence of life that we always go with that. We cannot go without, right? Set a goal in your life, right? What do you want to do, right? If you're a parent, you always ask your children, what do you want to do with your life, right? What do you want to become when you grow up? It's the same thing, right? What do you want to do in the next 5 years? Do you want to, you know, own a home, or what do you want to do in your profession, or what do you want to do in your cultivation, right? Goals in your life. Make your aspirations count. Make your vow, make your goal, right? And how do you do that? How do you do that? And when something goes wrong, when do you adjust and how do you adjust? Always adjusting, always observing yourself, and always know when you need to adjust and how do you adjust, so that you keep all in check and you keep on doing the things to achieve this goal, right? So in chapter 20, that's exactly for the first 20 chapters. And then up to chapter 20, it showed us all these pillars, right? All these pillars, and it tells you how to do this. That's what chapter 20, why up to chapter 20, it tells you all these things. And then chapter 20 show you how to do this. That's why I think Master felt that it was enough. It's not just about theories in the first few chapters, but it also tells you how you can do this, when you need to adjust, and how you can adjust. So, for example, in chapter 20, we were introduced to the never sliding Bodhisattva, right? What was his pillar? What was his goal, right? His main belief, the faith, was that everyone can become the Buddha. Everyone, all sentient beings, everyone. So what did he do? He basically believed everybody, and then he humbly knelt before everybody, and then he prayed to them. He told them that they could become. That was his motto. That was his goal. That was very certain. Everyone can become the Buddha. That was very certain. That was his goal, right? That was his model of life that he abide by for his whole life. That's what he believed in, right? Faith. And that's what he believes in. And what does he do? How do you achieve that? How do you bring that out? How do you make sure that everybody can become Buddha? Well, he had his own way of doing things, right? He went up to everybody. He told them that they can become Buddha. He bowed to them because they will become the Buddha. So he did everything that he can. And he did this in a continued diligence and perseverance. He didn't stop because people, yell at him, beat on him, or things like that, or don't believe him, or belittle him. He didn't stop. He continued, right? So when did he need to adjust? Well, he needed to adjust his own mind, right? When people begin to throw rocks at him, and what does he do? He ran far away. He ran far away, if you remember the stories, right? So we're coming back to what happened in chapter 20. He ran far away from a safe distance. He then shouts, "You will become the Buddha. You must believe it. I will not, I will still be respectful of you." So that's what he does, right? He changes ways whenever necessary, right? Will not damage his own body or health, but he changes ways, right? But the most important thing is what happens when you encounter something you cannot overcome. Remember, at the end, he was thinking, the never studying Bodhisattva, he was thinking, perhaps this was getting hard. Perhaps this was getting difficult. And maybe I should stop. What happened? He remembered. He remembered his teachers from long ago. And the voices came to him and said, you should continue. And you know what? All these four things, isn't these are the four things that Master shared with us yesterday? Exactly. She had this responsibility. She knew that her life, the objective of her life, the goal of her life was for all sentient beings and for Buddha's teachings, right? That's what her goal was. She continued. She knew what she needed to do. She knew that she needed to embody her own teachings. She knew that she needed to act on it, right? And whenever things happen, she make adjustments. When the world changes, when things happen, she make adjustments. And when there was time to say, maybe this is it, what happens? All the memories of people chanting and wanting and saying life after life will be with you, will follow you. That got her going. So that's true in our lives too, right? So if we feel unaccomplished or hindered, it's because maybe we're missing one of the four pillars, one of the four, maybe five, I don't know. But I narrow it down to just these four. So I really think that that's something that we should always think about. Why is chapter 20 enough? Because out of these chapter 20, many things that Master is teaching us. So I want to get into this question very quickly, and then I'll hand it off to Master Delitza, who is prepared, who is ready. So this was a question: why didn't the great ones write their own teachings, but by the followers? For example, the Buddha wasn't the writer of the sutras. He merely spoke, and then it was compiled by all the disciples, or the Quran or the Bible, not the original teacher. And I think a very short answer is Dharma is uncountable. You can't count. You can't count how many words, how many letters are there in the Bible or in the sutra, because it's only something that's speakable. You speak out the words and you write down the words, but that words itself isn't Dharma. It's only part of the Dharma. So the moment you begin to write it, it's the moment that you begin to restrict it. On the other hand, it's felt and done. How do you write down the feeling? Write the feelings of how salty this is. Well, it would be very difficult, right? And the best way is come and eat it yourself. You might like saltiness. You might think it's not salty at all. For me, it might be too salty. That's what it is, right? Felt and done. If you need to feel it, and you need to do it, and felt and done, and realize and understand. That's all through embodiment. That's Dharma. No words in the world can actually expound that. So it's never enough. It's only enough when you begin to understand what it is, begin to walk the path. So that's why the people that expound the Dharma is not going to write it, because they knew that wasn't it. It's only a map, a guideline for you to walk so that you would know what it is. But writing it down, reading it is not going to be enough. That's why they're not going to write it. But they will tell you to practice it, to walk it, and then you will understand. So that's, my part is done. So we're going to now move over to Master Delitza, who is going to share with us. Thank you.
Venerable Dharma Master, brother, sister, good morning. I'm Tzu I would like to share with you my thoughts on what I have read. And thank you for coming and joining today's Saturday sharing. This will be my presentation today. We can truly see their innate goodness and great wisdom. They can express themselves easily and clearly when guiding others. This is what I see. I've seen kids or children have the innate goodness and great wisdom. So as water resources are decreasing at an alarming rate, we must all cherish water. As if it were gold, we cannot survive without water, so we must cherish water resources. What's most important for us now is to cultivate ourselves diligently. Only by going vegetarians can we humans transform ourselves and become good. If we harbor goodness, open our hearts, and cherish resources, we will surely cherish people's lives. We should love not only ourselves, but also all humanity. If we hope everyone can be safe and well, we surely cannot bear to hurt or kill animals. As long as we adopt a vegetarian diet, we can all enjoy good health, prevent disease, and nurture love and compassion within. So going vegetarian is a good thing to do. We must seize the opportunity to learn crucial lessons from the crisis. Now is the time for the entire world to learn lessons from the pandemic. Mother Nature is reminding us that in the face of major calamities, we must awaken. The earth is not only home to humans, but shared by all living beings, so we should open our heart. We must harbor respect within, heighten our vigilance, and humble ourselves. With this pandemic, Mother Nature is bringing lessons for us humans to learn. I hope we can all learn from the warning and lesson brought by the pandemic. Otherwise, the kind of crisis will soon happen again. It's been 17 years since the SARS outbreak. Now we are facing another outbreak again. If we can awaken to the lesson this time, the pandemic can end quickly. What is needed is for everyone to share one heart and practice vegetarianism with sincere piety. We must give rise to sincere piety, let go for our affliction and give with joy and love. This is truly an earth-shattering disaster, but has humankind reached a world-changing awakening to the situation we are in? It seems that sometimes it is very hard to reach people so that they will realize the situation. So, dear Bodhisattvas, it really is the time for us to awaken. We must realize that this epidemic is now upon us. At this time, we cannot realize the situations we are in and repent sincerely. Will we still not lower our head and express our gratitude? We all must sincerely express our gratitude to everyone and everything at all times. We must now practice gratitude and repentance in parallel. From now on, we must not have conflict with people, nor should we create conflict with animals just for the sake of satisfying our taste. We need to nurture a loving heart at all times. As humans, we should protect all living beings. Humans are the most intelligent creatures on earth, and everyone is born kind and good. So we must respect and care for all beings as we wish to be cared for ourselves. Everyone is born kind and good and has a loving heart. Since we are inherently good and claim to be the most intelligent creatures on earth, if we don't protect, cherish other animals, how can we qualify as humans and claim to be the most intelligent of all? We should respect all living creatures the way we love and care for ourselves. Only when we do so, we are truly protecting life. All living beings possess the Buddha nature, so we must protect all life as we wish to be protected. Wouldn't we do everything possible to safeguard our own lives? So just like how we cherish our own lives, we should cherish other living beings the same way. We need to harbor such a good heart at all times. Weather patterns have indeed become very erratic. Everyone needs to care about these situations and take it as one of the most pressing issues to be addressed. Besides the shared understanding and a consensus, what is the most important in our collective action? If we share the same understanding, it only means we have all understood this situation. And if we have reached a consensus, it only means we have all realized what to do. Given the pressing issues of climate change and erratic weather patterns, it is truly up to all of us to take action collectively in order to make a difference, as climate change results from human activities. It is we human beings that should work to solve the problems. When the virus is infecting people's bodies, and we must not let it affect the whole society, we also cannot let the spiritual viruses infect our minds. So we have to keep our minds isolate from the virus by having good heart. So the most important thing is to stay vigilant, follow rules, calm our mind, and care for one another. Thank you for listening, and wish brother and sister in this our Tzu Chi road keep going, and we all must be vegetarian, and we love each other and share to each other, take care of each other, and we must every time. Thank you for listening.
Amitofo, Sifu, brothers and sisters. Now, this morning, I will be sharing a little story about me during this movement control order here in Malaysia that has been in place for the past 1.5 months. Due to the nature of my work, I was chasing COVID-19 updates when the pandemic first started. And without realizing it, this information overload kind of like manifested into restlessness in my work, in my interactions with my family members, and even Tzu Chi work. So during this MCO period, I was actually kept very, very busy and kept very, very restless. That's really the worst enemy for anyone's immunity. It even affected my judgment skills. And the tipping point was when I even declined outrightly an opportunity to serve in Tzu Chi. But thankfully, with kind of virtuous friends, or in Chinese, what they call 善知识, there are interactions with fellow brothers and sisters, and there are learnings from the series of online diligence classes. And it started to dawn on me that everyone has their own share of challenges in facing this pandemic, yet some of them actually cross over to continue to give to others. They don't stop. In fact, they become even more diligent. Somehow realizing that actually bring about a sense of gratefulness in what I was going through. Nothing has changed, but that sense of gratefulness just arose. I'm grateful to have a job that allows me to easily swing to work from home. given that there are those who actually have to lose their job after the MCO. I'm also grateful that if I want to, I can continue to give to others thanks to Tzu Chi platform. And even more so, I am grateful that in our usual days, we have engagements with refugees. So I think of them from time to time. And when another opportunity in Tzu Chi came about, there was no hesitation at all. This initiative allowed us Tzu Chi volunteers to reach out to refugees with cash relief on condition that all special precautionary actions, including securing MCO permits, are in place. From this point on, what follows are just simply beautiful and unforgettable encounters with all these refugees. We all know and we agree that refugees undergo tremendous suffering. Their sufferings are so great, it's just beyond words, unspeakable sufferings, but it's real. And you just know it when you have the opportunity to be with them. So when the cash was handed out to them during the MCO period, they had such deep gratitude. It was so strong that you can almost see it. In difficult and challenging times like this, I can strongly feel that there's really no you, me, or them. Whatever feelings that we have, so do they. If we are suffering, so are they. And if we yearn for something, so do they. Therefore, despite their unspeakable suffering, they too know of gratitude and love, and they too are hoping for gratitude and love. On the screen, their thank yous may look simple and sound simple, but each words are filled with so much sincerity and gratitude. It just goes straight to my heart. Let me play you a video. I hope it's working.
Thanks dengan Yuan dengan Tzu Chi food lah family sebab dia orang tolong bulan ini dengan sedang dulu pun dia orang ada tolong 6 bulan, so ini sambung 3 bulan sudah 9 bulan lah. Sangat thanks sana boleh jika tanya saja sana jika macam mana pun saya tak tahu sekarang ini 2 bulan satu kali kasih saya laki jika laki thank you lah sebab sekarang saya sudah tak ada kerja, makan pun susah, lepas itu saya punya sewa bayar macam mana tak boleh fikir, lepas malam pun saya tak boleh tidur, so hari ini macam satu kali kasih saya thank you so sekarang belum kerja, bulan depan kalau belum kerja duduk macam mana pun saya tak boleh fikir.
This is one of a refugee. Her name is Nini Sui. She has no money for a sick husband, and she has no money to bring food back to her family. So she was very in need of help. And when Nini received the 2 months upfront cash, as you can see, she just broke down in tears. She said this was exactly what she was praying and hoping for, but she dare not ask for it. She said she knew others are also suffering. And then here we are when we arrive at her doorsteps, downstairs, giving her exactly what she prayed for. That's how refugees are. They are like us. And in fact, most of them are greater beings than us, having to endure so much in life. Let me play you another video.
Yuan tolong saya, terima kasih, thank you very much, tolong saya, semua tolong saya, terima kasih, thank you very much, terima kasih, Yuan semua, terima kasih saya makan dengan semua bagi saya, terima kasih, dokter semua bagi saya, terima kasih.
Think about this, an elderly man breaking down in tears, sobbing and thanking you endlessly for the help that they receive. If it's not for Tzu Chi, how can we even have such an opportunity to help these people? With the lockdown, we know that cash alone can't do much for this refugee. His name is Amil. So we brought him some packed drinks and also bread for him and the family. He wept and he received cash. He wept when he received the cash, but he cried harder when he received the goods. That day, he cried, and I cried too. Then there's also acquaintance from the past. We first encountered this refugee called Das back in 2017, 3 years ago. Tzu Chi was a life savior to him back then. He was diagnosed with mouth cancer and it went untreated. Despite that he was told that there's a high chance of recovery, Tzu Chi then intervened. And after some 10 months of fighting against the cancer, he survived it. He survived the disease. And then in late 2018, Das' life started to gain normalcy, and we even make a video of him. He started working and he even got married. We maintain contact, and just early this year, he shared a picture of his beautiful baby girl with me that you can see on the screen. But yet, with the onset of the pandemic, COVID-19, his life was rocked again. His baby girl has gone without milk, and his landlord was chasing him for the overdue rental. Das started to call for help. Let me try and play, just bear with me, let me try and play his call, his message. Sorry. Well, actually, maybe let me give the background. So under the COVID CBI initiative, Das did receive help. He received a one-off cash relief. And let me just play you a message, a voicemail that he sent me just 2 days ago.
Okay, banyak-banyak terima kasih ya. Kalau tak jadi, terus ini yang kalau tak dapat bantuan dari Tzu Chi dengan Yuan. Terus susah, banyak susah. Terus nak bayar rumah. Sekarang saya boleh bayar rumah. Bila itu saya bila 320 saya boleh bayar. Itu hari ada call saya tanya berapa harga rumah itu sewa. Saya sudah cakap saya satu bilik sewa 320. Hari ini ada 2 orang datang, ada bagi bantuan 380. Dos banyak terima kasih dari Tzu Chi dengan Yuan. Dos kamu bunga sekali. Okay, bye.
So to conduct this cash distribution, there's actually so much changes and so much of impermanence felt. Impermanence on the part of the refugees, just like what we can see that happened in Nini Sui and also Das, as well as on volunteers' part. We need to secure MCO permit just to be out there, and that process itself keeps changing. From having a letter from the Ministry of Health, it then turned to us having to take the extra step of securing police approvals. And penalty for flouting rules just keep getting heavier and heavier. But of course, we make sure that all rules are followed no matter how cumbersome they are. On the distribution date itself, we went through roadblocks after roadblocks. It was actually a very intimidating experience. In every single roadblocks, there are policemen, military men, and even pressmen or cameramen. Some of them check on our documentations, and it's down to matching my name and my IC on those documentation before they will let me go. The authorities are really, really very strict. But what is also very beautiful is in one of the roadblocks, as I waited for my turn and I approached my turn, the policeman, seeing me in my Tzu Chi uniform, just waved me on and asked me to go on without even having me to wind down my window. And in another roadblock, after checking my documents and a few probing questions from the police, he knew what I was gonna do, and he actually thanked me and asked me to take care of myself. In this unprecedented time, we find that impermanence and danger seems to be getting closer and closer to us. In fact, even doing good deeds now have become more difficult. But do we stop? And once again, let restlessness kick in. Most of us probably feel this already. We are currently in the midst of change, a change that will affect how we get about with our daily activities, whether it's social life, work, or even Tzu Chi work. And of late, Master keeps saying that with great disaster, there must be great lesson. And then she went on to remind us this, that as we raise our heads to look up to the heavens, we seek repentance for all our past wrong deeds. And as we lower our heads to look upon the earth, we ought to be grateful to what we have been blessed with. I'd like to end my sharing with sincere hope that we can remind each other that each day we can get to piously repent on any of our wrong deeds, and may these wrong deeds be non-increasing, and we keep gratefulness close to our hearts in every encounter that we have with every single person, matter, or objects in our life. Alan.
Good morning, everyone. My mom just buzzed me this morning and said to me, I can see you're on, so I think she's watching from Penang. So this is extra special. Let me share my screen. Okay, I've just been a vegetarian for the past 2 years. Sorry, I'm still a bit teary from Sister Wan Tin's sharing just now. My mom was a vegetarian earlier. I think she has been a vegetarian over 10 years. And 3 years ago, my daughter became vegetarian, but I'll talk a little bit about her later on. So this is my journey and the little sharing that I do with family and friends. One of the first movies that I saw about being vegetarian is this movie called Earthlings. It's not very popular, but it was in 2006. If you have an opportunity, do check this movie out because it greatly moved my daughter. When I was watching it, my husband thought it was too gory and just left the room. The movie talks about our relationship, our meaning the human relationship with animals and how we profit from animals in all fronts, as pets, as food, as in clothing, entertainment, medicines, and sport. So my daughter became a vegan in 2017. That was almost 10 years after this movie. But when she was watching this movie, she was, as a child, she really felt for the animals. I remember when she saw how they pelted a fox or its skin, she just couldn't understand why we had to hurt another being so much. When she became a vegan first in 2017, she was influenced by friends. And it was funny because she actually went on a trip with my boss, and who was a very, very big meat eater, and his family. And my boss's daughter was vegan. And she saw how Kimberly could actually maintain her vegan lifestyle even in a meat-eating family. So she took the bold step to be vegetarian, rather to be vegan at first. After she saw that it wasn't difficult, and also from a chance encounter with my friend, which I will also talk about a little bit down the line. But the plus point was this. If you see on the right, that was her picture before. She was 16 when she became vegetarian, so it was the hormonal age, and she had a lot of pimples. But it only took 3 months for her face to be completely clear. And after that, she told me, "Mommy, I'm really not going back." Okay. There are some other movies that I think you should watch. These are The Game Changer is on the left. This is a new movie, but it talks about how being vegan helps in athletes' performance. And interestingly enough, when my daughter decided to become vegetarian, she at that time was doing a lot of sports. She was doing taekwondo, and she was also competing in fencing competitively. So her coach was particularly concerned about her not getting enough protein. That proved to be a non-issue because she went on to win so many medals. And of course, her crowning glory was when she went all the way to Sukma and she got her gold medal. So she proved that, as you would see also in this show, that you can get all the protein from nature. Where do you think cows and horses get their protein from? The other show that you should watch is Fox Over Knives. This talks about the health aspects of our population in general. And it's not a new movie, it's 2011, but it's still relevant today. So as my daughter became more and more into being vegetarian, for me, it was important for me to find places to eat. And therefore, I started looking at food apps and places, but these are the two that I would recommend to you. Thaimeal.my is an app where you can actually get discounts. And Vegetarian Society of Malaysia has an app where you can look for vendors that are nearby your neighborhood. So it makes this looking for vegetarian places a lot easier. Around that time when my daughter started toying with vegetarianism, I had opportunities to visit some industries. I remember, I think it was about 5 years ago, I visited an abattoir. It's already closed for 10 years. But when I walked into the abattoir, you could still see the blood streaks on the wall. And you may not have been there, and it may not be operational, but you can sense that the energy of the place is not healing, and it's not a place that is welcoming because of the pain and the suffering that the animals have gone through. I also had opportunities to review, because I was with a company that wanted to diversify. So I got to see the operations of chicken farm, feed mills. It was interesting to me, and I didn't know then that a lot of chicken feed are actually made out of meat and bones of cows. So we actually feed our chicken beef. And these are discards and parts that people normally do not want, so they grind it up and they make it into chicken feed. I visited a dairy farm, and that was the only one that I have pictures on, which I'll show you later. If you say SILK 6 times, and somebody asks you the question, what do cows drink? You will most likely say milk. But actually, that's not the case. Cows don't drink milk. Not even baby cows. Baby cows drink, they can't drink the milk that their mothers produce because that's meant for human consumption. So what do cows eat? They don't even eat grass. They have very dry grass. Grass is not something that is available. What you see in packages, those are just for marketing. A lot of times our farms or dairy farms, they have barns and they cram the cows into the barn. They have a small place where they feed the cows, so they mix some dried grass with, normally this discards from the oil mills from our oil palm industry, because the pulp actually still has oil. So to fatten the cow and for it to produce more creamier milk, so that's what we feed cows. So if baby cows don't drink milk, what do they drink? Usually in the milk industry, when the milk comes and being processed, you take the curd and you make cheese and all that. What's left is called whey. And if you are into bodybuilding, you will know about whey protein. So they'll take whey in the powder form, mix a lot with water, and that's what baby cows drink. And usually all these things will happen for 6 cycles. A female cow will get pregnant or be impregnated 6 times, and then she will go to the slaughterhouse. So milk, although it is, vegetarians do take eggs and milk. If you could give it up, you would actually save a lot of pain and suffering. So if you see my dairy farm here, I have some pictures. This is the vat where they mix dried grass together with other forms of feed. These are the cows. These are Jersey cows. They have a little tuft on the top of their head. They bend over here. Cows are just the gentlest creatures. If you look them in the eye, I think all you can see is a lot of sadness. A lot of cows have a little dent on their neck because they have to bend down and eat. But this is how barns usually look like, a ventilator at the end, just to make sure the barns don't get too heated up. On the bottom left, you will see this is a pen where they keep the baby cows. The reason why there are grooves in between is to prevent the baby cows, the cows from hopping around too much. Because if they exercise too much, they will eat too much. And usually the males will be sent to the slaughterhouse within 3 months if they are not sold. And the female cows will suffer the same fate as their mothers. This is a glove for insemination. They would wear this in the arm, as you can see, insert the whole hand into the anus of the female part where they milk the cow. So you can see my exposure to industries kind of colored my perception of how we have treated cows or animals in general. It wasn't pleasant, to say the least. I was also introduced to the concept of halal. I understand it was conceived on the historical principle that it was one of the most humane methods. Halal doesn't mean pork or no pork. It just means the fully conscious animal receives a single cut and the blood is fully drained so that the animal dies immediately and doesn't transmit the pain and the suffering into its meat. So in Islam and Judaism, they make it very clear that any form of animal cruelty and barbarity in treatment is completely forbidden. So the problem with today's interpretation of that is stunting versus non-stunting. In normal practice, they stun the animal, they shock the animal so that it is subconscious, and then they slaughter. But the halal way actually just slaughters the animal, and it is actually very I was at the abattoir and I saw the place, the ram, where the cows would line up and go up, and they will tell us, oh, this is the place where they will hook the animal and the slaughtering will begin. And then the blood will flow down. So I said, but if the cows are going up the ram and seeing blood flow down, surely the animal would already be suffering on the way to being slaughtered. So how can the meat be halal in the strictest sense? That is a question that, of course, nobody can answer. So when the student is ready, the teachers will appear. On the left, you can see this is my friend. Her name is Yi Hong. When this picture was taken, she was already 52 years old. She looked better in her 50s than she did in her 40s, and she would usually tell us that her move to being vegan is one of the best things that she has ever done. And when people ask her, how do you look so youthful? She will always say, I don't want to teach you, but I will show you. And it was in one of her 2-day sessions where she showed us how she maintains this vegan lifestyle, the philosophy behind it, what else does she do or to detox and all that, that my daughter went with me. And from then, she decided to be a vegetarian. And on my right is my mom. She is in her Tzu Chi uniform. My mother has always been very soft in her approach. Even though she was a vegetarian and she has been a Tzu Chi member for the last 20 years, she has never forced me. All she says, which is remotely encouraging, is, I hope one day you will find your way. Okay, then once I joined the Tzu Chi group, a Tzu Chi family, there's the Cooking Dharma group, which helps me a lot. On the right, there is this lady called Annette Larkins. I came across her in one of my many readings before I decided to be vegetarian on the 22nd of March in 2018 on my trip to Hualien with the entrepreneurs group. Annette Larkins is 75 years old, as you can see. She is more than just a vegan. She is a raw vegan. She takes raw foods. This picture, if you can see, that's her husband, and her husband's a butcher. So the husband usually jokes that people would think that the husband's going out with his grandchild. I also attend a lot of motivational events, and when I went to this event by Anthony Robbins in Australia, I was surprised to find that he was also promoting vegetarianism. On the right, you see Ellen DeGeneres, one of my, I like her very much, she's really funny, but she's also vegan. And the whole world is practically vegetarian and vegan, to my surprise. Some of the faces you may find that you know them or you don't, but these are Hollywood stars. You have Serena Williams and Carl Lewis and Kate Winslet. I was kind of blown away. Madonna, I didn't know that. And of course, Master Cheng Yen. There are challenges of being a vegetarian. There is a social stigma, and many people may attack you in a social setting. You hear phrases like, God made animals to be eaten. If God didn't want them to be eaten, he wouldn't make them taste so good. How do you have a comeback for that? If you become vegetarian, you will look like a cow. If you don't eat animals, there will be too many pigs and chickens and cows. Or I have to order separately for you. With family, it was especially difficult. My husband wasn't very supportive of my daughter when she first became vegetarian. But we learned as a family, and it has been more than 3 years. So this is a process of evolving. You just have to stick to your guns and just continue if it is the right thing to do. Also, one of the many challenges of being a vegetarian is to be the reference point. You've got to be in shape, you have to have energy, you've got to be in the pink of health. I remember when sometimes I catch a cold and people say, you see, you like this because you're vegetarian. Or if I happen to have a fever, oh, I eat meat, so therefore I'm not sick. And I thought you're supposed to be so healthy, how come you are not healthy? So I think it is important for us also, extra challenge of being a vegetarian to keep ourselves fit and be in shape, and to be in the pink of health, to know more about what we do so that we can be a reference point. And what I normally do is really to ignore the naysayers. There is really no need to defend or provoke. We can do things in a very soft manner, and you'll be surprised at the many ripples that you form, even though you do not know that you are influencing someone. There was one form which I had to fill out in one of the Zoom events, and I was asked how many people I have influenced to become vegetarian. And I thought, none. In fact, I think my mom and my daughter influenced me to be vegetarian. But I would just like to highlight that, just like my daughters and my experience, there is really no one person. And for me to claim that I have been influencing someone to be vegetarian, I think is a little bit too much. But what I can do is just to share with whoever is in my circle of influence. And here are some of my friends in various stages of progression. I worked with a bunch of chiropractors, and Dr. Hayden is a 6'2". He's really tall, 6'2". He's from South Africa, so meat steaks was the thing. He was also a very good chef, so that was his thing. But I recently saw him again, and he said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm now vegan." And I said, "Wow, when did this happen? And what was the turning point?" And he says, "Actually, nothing." He said, "One day I just woke up and I thought, it's time. The earth needs a break." And the Yuan family is my husband and my in-laws. My sister-in-law is in Australia, and here she is. She's cooking and she's showing us fan mi with vegetarian mince, version of wonton mi with vegetarian char siu. This is her making vegetarian wonton. And my daughter chips in and says, "You know, you should." As and when I can, I of course encourage them. If I bring in Tzu Chi, sometimes people will go, "Oh," they will get defensive. So you have a few ammunition. You tell them maybe what you should do is to watch Game Changer on Netflix. If you want to gain strength, not just to lose weight, being vegetarian is the way to go. This is just subtle ways of suggesting and planting the seed. And when the time is right, like for me, it will happen. This is another friend of mine. She decided to be vegetarian for a month, and she felt that she didn't need it. And when she had a craving for meat, she took it, but her stomach rejected it in disgust. And that's her. She had a celebration meal for, and this is her cooking, which was all vegetarian, unintentionally, but she needed it because she didn't want to throw up anymore. This is another friend of mine. I wished him selamat berpuasa, and he was telling me that he had to be hospitalized and all that. And I said, well, time to change to consider a change in diet. But because he was going more on the health aspect, I thought for overnight would be a show that he probably would resonate with more. This is another friend of mine on the right-hand side, and she was talking about cooking during the MCO, and that she's worried about infection. And I said, well, so long as people eat meat, there's just going to be some risk of infection. And I didn't say it. Who said it? And then we have, it's not at the end yet. Oh, here is my friend. She cooked, and she would, her cooking is really nice, but one day she decided to be totally vegetarian, and of course you just have to keep encouraging it. And this in the middle and the end, a friend of a friend who became a friend, he popped in this picture on Facebook. I commented that it was so good, and he's like, "Oh, I'm vegan now, forgot to tell you." So we do have people in our midst, and I think we just have to play the part of the silent reminder, if you will, and to speak our truth as softly and as clearly as we can. There is this poem, the Siddhartha, which my mom introduced to me when I was very young. But towards the end of the poem, there is this line that I'd just like to extract and share with you just to end my presentation. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have a story. And that's the end of my presentation. Over to you, Sister sisSuChing. Thank you so much for listening to me.
So thank you for Sister Wondrous and Sister sisSuChing for the sharing. Of course, always Sangre always say that she learned a lot when from all the volunteer, because when you put effort to comfort others, or when you put effort to share the vegetarian and all these things, then she can learn from there as well. So as for Sister Wondrous just now, that we can see she when she really go into the refugee, then you can found that the refugee feel the warmness of our help as well. So they can how should I say, they really give the feedback as well in the video that you have shown. So although distribution day, we have to give follow the rules and all this, but then we still can finally give. And also because as we wear our uniform, and then they know that what we have done. So you can see that what have Tzu Chi done in this Malaysia for this COVID-19 times, then people have already received us. So good deeds become difficult, but although good deeds become difficult, but then we still carry on this. As for Sister sisSuChing, I can see she happily shared how she promote the vegetarian and how she learned from what she have done when she go to the daily farm and all this. So I hope that keep going to invite everyone to become vegetarian. And thanks for your sharing, and I should end, and I hope that everyone will be peace and well. Thank you.